Welcome to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to today's show. We are going to have a feel-good, fun time. Thus, the subject is the sacral chakra and the third eye chakra, partners in manifestation. And before I get to that, I just want to say I dedicate this next 50 or 55 minutes, somewhere along those lines. Who knows? Sometimes it's only 45, especially when it's just me. I dedicate this time to blessing you, to allowing my vessel to be fully aligned with the blessings of the universe, so that I have so much that my cup spills over and a laser beam of blessing is offered to you for your creative manifestation, for your flow, for your bliss, for your expression, for you to be exactly who you are meant to be in this time-space reality, in this eternal piece of now. Thank you so much for joining me, however you are. If you're joining me on Facebook, know that you can also catch it right on my website at triciacarcharm.com/charmed-life. We have a broadcast window there where we live stream it. And you can also, we live stream directly to YouTube now, youtube.com/triciacar. On YouTube, I actually do put up many other videos in addition to this program and in addition to this live podcast, Charmed Life. And also, you can listen to it as a podcast on any of your podcast outlets. It's on iTunes, it's on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Any way that you get your podcast, you will be able to find this program. I would love it if you would like, subscribe, share, comment, and on the podcast, you can actually review it. All of that stuff helps this program to, get up in that algorithm, that whole internet popularity engine. So I would love it if you guys do like this show. If you would share it with your friends, your families, your people of like mind and like heart, that would be so awesome because I would love to connect with more of you. And I would also like to tell you about the 2019 Intuitive Intensive. This is a 12-week comprehensive program, 8 weeks of education, 4 weeks of group coaching. It is a collaboration with my dear friend, Crystal Ann Compton, who is an intuitive channel and spiritual teacher. You hear me talk about her all the time. She is also the founder of the Lightworkers Lab, that spiritual community of which I am a teacher and a guide. So go find the Lightworkers Lab on Facebook. It's a group. It's way more than a Facebook group. We just have it there so that it has easy access. Folks are already on Facebook for the most part, and so we have it there. But I would love for you to go. There are free resources every single day, people getting up teaching and coaching and offering their light, and people also connecting with one another in their spiritual expression. Go check that out. But the 2019 Intuitive Intensive is a groundbreaking program to stoke, blast open, enhance, up-level your psychic and intuitive abilities. It's really a whole map of the intuitive universe. And then there's practical. We do the 4 weeks of actual practical coaching, group coaching, and the community is amazing because we have it all hosted as a study group. Go check it out. The links are in the description. However you are picking up this broadcast or recording, you can find the link there in the description. I also want to tell you guys about my Mystic Arts Academy. You can go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, and you can click on Mystic Arts Academy, or you can go to triciacarcharm.com/classes-lineup, and that'll just give you kind of a lineup of the classes that are coming up most currently. Right now, I have my ongoing, it's about twice per month. It is the Intuitive Mediumship Development class. So it is like a development circle, but it's also a class. It's an alchemized version of teaching and practical coaching. I coach folks in their reading abilities, and this is for people who are beginners to people who are advanced. We've had people who are advanced come in and say, I do intuitive readings, meaning I do the higher self reading typically, or the energy field reading, and I would like to open up my mediumship. And that particular practitioner opened up mediumship and did kind of her first evidential on purpose mediumship experience, her reading. And then the very next time she messaged me a few days later, she's like, oh my gosh, my next my next appointment, my next session, I was doing mediumship. It just started happening. So that, and then also folks who came in, have come in the class, and it is, they're just feeling like they're awakening. It's 11:11 right now. Shout out angels. Yo, yo, yo. Okay. And people who have just come in and they are able to do a reading and open their heart to that. So it is something that is accessible online as an online class on Zoom, but also at my local studio in Burbank, California. Now, the spaces are very limited on this, but we do it twice per month. Additionally, I have a class coming up called 5 Steps to Opening Your Intuitive Abilities. That is going to be on March 10th at 3 p.m. And this is, I love this class. This is actually a lesson that I direct channeled as a map, a multidimensional map of opening and also enhancing your intuitive abilities. So what I mean by opening is if you are maybe someone who's just at the earlier stages of exploring your actual abilities in the intuitive world, it's a great sequential guide for you. And if you are along your path a little bit of the way, then it works with you multidimensionally. So it isn't necessarily sequentially, but we can continue to go deep into each of these steps. I actually review it several times per year for myself. I just go through and meditate on the material because it helps me to enhance all of those areas. Pardon me, that's a hazard of doing a show solo. I have to clear my throat sometimes. So this is also something you can participate in person at my Mystic Arts Academy in Burbank, California, or online. So go check that out. You could the links are in the description, and I welcome you to all of these offerings. And stay tuned because there's a lot more coming up. All right. Having said that, I'm going to let myself take a sip. Said, hey Kurt, will you say hi to everyone while I take a sip?
Hey everybody.
Producer Kurt.
How's everyone doing today?
Kurt's also producing my other podcast. I don't know if you know, I have another show called Enlightened AF. I have a host partner named Aiden Demarest. It's a little different, right, Kurt?
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun.
I
enjoy
fun.
that one a lot. Not that I don't enjoy this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoy it, but it's just the other one's a little more out there.
It's out there for sure. Well, I mean, F stands for the F word. So
exactly.
It's really, front face is comedy. And then we also talk about spirituality and as a much more, as a lighter fare. This last episode that we did, we had 2 guests in studio. It was Aiden and me, and then 2 other people in studio. David Gandelman, who is amazing. He was on last Charmed Life. He's a spiritual teacher. He's an intuitive. He's awesome. He has a podcast called Energy Matters. Check out Energy Matters for sure. And we also had actress Lauren September in. I almost said Antifremo. That's my other friend. Lauren September in. And we had so much fun. We were laughing the whole time. We were talking about tantric sex techniques, which is really fascinating. And actually the tantra breathing is really helpful, not just for sexual expression, but for just your entire spiritual expression, because it's something that helps to, it actually has a lot to do with this lesson. That's part of the reason why I'm bringing this talk today. It helps you to manage the energy, any energy that is arrested in your lower energy centers, and move it up to the higher energy centers, that particular tantra breath technique. And that's actually what I'm going to talk about today. So anyway, go check on Enlightened AF Pod. We have less than 20 episodes, but we are live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and you can find that on Facebook or on what's it called now? ubngo.com.
Yes.
Sorry, we changed our website. We changed our web address here at UBN. And but just go find it. You'll be able to find it on any of my podcast outlets and stuff like that too. I mean, any of my social outlets. All right. So having said that, I wanted to talk to you guys today about how the sacral chakra and the third eye chakra partner together for you to be able to fully manifest your soul purpose, the different things you want to experience in your life, just manifestation in general, but expression, flow, ease, creativity, living in a state of ease and flow rather than stuck, overwhelmed, and all of that kind of stuff, feeling blocked, feeling stuck, feeling anxious and there's too much going on. This is all energy that is actually arrested in those lower chakras. And today I'm going to particularly talk about the lower chakra of the sacral, which is a beautiful, wonderful universe in and of itself. But when we overemphasize a particular chakra, and that can happen with any of them, it's not like the lower ones are bad and the higher ones are good. Not at all. We can overemphasize the energy in any one of these energy centers and have it to where it's a little bit either arrested or overproducing and then come out of balance. So let me just start with, if you are new to the idea, you've probably heard of chakras or the word chakra. If you're brand new to the idea of what this is, a chakra is, the word chakra is actually wheel. It means wheel in, is it Sanskrit or Hindi? I can't remember. I think it might be Hindi. It means wheel though. And what a chakra is, like I said, an energy center or a vortex. So think of it as, we picture it kind of like a fan or a lotus flower spinning. Pardon me. We usually see them horizontally. So if the fan is like lying down like a flower's bloom opening up, and it would, if it were spinning on its stem, that is how we see them. However, that is kind of the perspective that we see or experience from more of a 3D and 4D kind of perspective. Because actually when we look at them in a higher aspect, then we actually see that they're more spherical. So the way that I explain this, someone actually asked me this recently, I think when I was live in the Lightworkers Lab actually, or maybe it was in one of my classes. I can't remember all the places that I am. Someone asked me about the 5D perspective of the chakras and that they're more spherical. And the reason that they would appear, or we would translate them to have an appearance of being, I say translate because we're talking about finer light frequencies where our physical eyes are actually not the translating devices. So as we are looking at them from those higher perspectives, we see them as spherical because if you think of how a fan with its blades, when it is spinning and you look at it, even though the blades are separate, when it's spinning fast enough, there's an optical illusion that they're solid, right? Well, it's an optical illusion as we compare it to this light spectrum of looking at things with the 3D translators of the actual eyeballs. But in reality, the energy is, in that higher perspective, it is actually more coalesced. It is more integrated. And so that's, if you think about a bowl, like a bowl-shaped fan or a lotus flower-shaped fan spinning, then that energy is going to start spinning really high at a higher frequency. It's going to look more spherical. And actually, as it looks more spherical, it actually can move along different axes rather than just being horizontal. It can move and experience the fullness of all of the axes of that sphere. So that's what they kind of look like. Maybe that's a little bit somewhat advanced. I'm not sure. But if it is, I'll just break it down to make it even a little. I mean, like if you're like, wait, I don't know much about chakras, slow down. Well, just think of these energy centers, these chakras. Think of them as organizing, like freeways, basically. So they are taking all of the energy that we are, how we express and connect with the universal field, and just kind of organizes that energy like a freeway system. Instead of all of the cars just driving across the land willy-nilly, or like when ants organize themselves in a line, but if a drop of water comes in there, then they're going to get all spread out, but they'll get back together in one lane. That is what the chakras are. They're managing our own energy, but our energy as we co-create with the universe. Okay, so you guys know that the universe is omnidimensional, multidimensional. Even in quantum physics, they have the many worlds theory, okay? So dimensionality is, what a dimension is, it's the same place, it's just different layers of the same thing. So now, one way we can all relate to this is what's going on with the situation. It can have, many things can be going on with the situation. It can be what you know about it, how you feel about it, and what you see, what you, all of the other ways, what other people are saying. Like those are all different dimensions of the same thing, if that helps a little bit. So think of the universe as many layers. All right, that's what a dimension is. Or even density is how the energy actually expresses itself. Density meaning something that is more compacted or more expanded. Think ice, water, steam. That the ice is more contracted. The steam is most expanded as it concerns that element. All right, so that is what's going on now. This is the organizing system of our electromagnetic field. The electromagnetic field is your personal vibratory expression. Electro means to send out, so it's like your expression. Magnetic means to bring in. So it's what you bring in. So again, it is your communication with the universe. It's you being individualized in the universe, but never separate from it. And so along that, these energy centers, the chakras, are organizing the different layers of what's going on. So as I said, one situation can have many things going on. The root chakra is the base chakra of our personal, of the ones that are oriented to our person. And that is at the base of the spine. And so that's like very basic needs like survival. The sacral is the second one. It is located, is oriented to the pelvic region of the body. And it is actually, that's the one we're going to talk about. The other one we're talking about is the third eye and how they work together. But just to give you a basic model. So the sacral chakra is the seat of creativity. The sacral chakra is all about movement, whereas the root chakra would have been about being and about being stable. The sacral is more about movement. So you see how those are two different dimensions, really? Because if you're stable, you have to be stable before you can move, right? A baby must be able to stand before she can walk or crawl even. She must be able to be upright, stable, before she can make movement. So it's a different dimensionality, yet when you're moving, let's say when you're walking, you're still stable, right? You're still standing. Every step is still you standing. So this is what we're talking about, one thing building upon the other. And so the sacral chakra, like I said, is the seat of creativity. It's the seat of emotions. It's the first place, the first area where emotions start to be created or expressed. And in this center is really about feeling. It's about the psychological element of it is actually like sensuality or sexuality, and that makes a lot of sense, being that it is in the pelvic region, and it's oriented to our sex glands, meaning either our ovaries or our testes. And it is also about polarity. So as it develops between the ages of 6 months and 2 years, whereas the root chakra would develop between 0 months and 6 months. And so just think about that time as a baby, when the baby is just one with the mother, with the parents, but, just having come from the mother's body, it is one with that body still. And then at about between 6 months and 2 years, the baby starts to move and starts to become somehow separate. So this is something that's like the first stage. They all develop sequentially when we're young. And then they continue to develop. And they're always, again, multidimensionally activating, opening, balancing, expressing. And you can focus on one or another any given day or any given maybe like lunar cycle in order to balance and open it up. And, again, if you can just imagine how deep are the philosophies, the thoughts, the expressions surrounding feeling. I mean, feeling is everything, right? Well, as Neville Goddard says, feeling is this. Whoop! Kurt never makes noise. Feeling is the secret. That's the name of a Neville Goddard book. You should really check out. It's really amazing. So feelings, emotions, pleasure, duality, polarity, movement, mobility. But again, think about creativity and emotions, all right? So that's just a very basic overview of the sacral chakra. Now let me give us a basic overview of the third eye chakra. Third eye is located in the middle of the head. That is how it's oriented. And the gland, the physical part of the body that it is associated with, is the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland the pineal gland is actually an eye. It has a lens, it has rods and cones, just like the eyeballs have, and it is able to perceive, see, translate information and vibration in the same way that the eyes do. Now, I think of the eyes, the actual eyes, as really filters because they limit what we take in. We know that animals can see much more of ultraviolet light and much more of the light spectrum than we can. So that exists, but our eyes actually filter it down to limit what we can see. And so the third eye is not limited. It is unlimited. The only thing it is limited by is our intention and our choice, and essentially like the cooperation of our higher self with our physical self. Excuse me one sec. The pineal gland also works with other parts of the brain, and that is like the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus in general. And that is all to help balance and flow the emotional state as well. So see, this is kind of like the higher emotional regulation. The pituitary gland also regulates or produces, I think it does produce, and it regulates hormones too. So you see already, even in the physical body, how these guys partner together, because we have the sex organs, the reproductive organs, and then we have the hormone regulation up here. So these two naturally partner with one another, one being a higher expression of the other. And again, higher and lower in this case does not mean that one is better than the other, because the lower is foundational. If we were to have just third, we could overemphasize the third eye energy, and then we wouldn't be grounded. We wouldn't be actually human oriented. And that is just inaccurate, because we are human. It's inaccurate to want to feel like you're not human while you are human. And so there would be cognitive dissonance, spiritual dissonance with yourself and with the field, with the truth of what your soul is. Your soul's purpose is to be spirit expressed as physical right now. Okay, so again, with the third eye, I'm going to give us a few more just points about it. So this, as I said, this sacral psychological focus for the sacral chakra is sensuality and sexuality, or feeling. For the third eye, this psychological orientation is intuition, also vision. And then again, that higher vision, as I say, like this person is a visionary, meaning that they have a plan, and they have when we say visionary, it isn't necessarily analytical, like they have a 20-step plan and they're going to follow it right away. No, we mean like they have a mission. That's what visionary really means. It's like a driving feeling force of moving into the creative space in a specific way, and in an unlimited way even. So the third eye being the psychological element being intuitive is also meaning that it is able to actually see patterns. If someone is visionary, they actually have to have some kind of mission, they have to have some kind of path of it to be expressed. So the third eye is capable of learning in patterns, seeing all of the universe, but organizing it into an expression. So very creative. If you think about who was it? I think, was it Rodin? I can't remember who the sculptor is who said that. Oh, no, it wasn't Rodin, but he's one of my favorite sculptors. Pardon me for not quoting this artist correctly. But basically that he just removed the parts of the sculpture. Rather than actually carving something into it, he removed parts of the sculpture to reveal what God had already created. And so if you think about just a big block of marble, that is what the sacral can do. The sacral can go, there's so much, it's like has all of the feels and all of the creativity, but not the organization of it. But the third eye can organize it. The third eye sees the block of marble and sees the sculpture inside it, and then is able to help to allow that story to unfold. You see already how these partner together? The third eye.
Michelangelo, by the way.
Thank you very much. I was starting to see David in my mind's eye too. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it. No problem. What is the quote? Do you have it?
The sculpture is already complete within the marble block. Before I start my work, it is already there. I just have to chisel away the superfluous material.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kurt. Awesome. I'm surprised you were able to find it by how much I butchered it, but I'm glad you did.
I got it. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I actually, as I was saying it, I was starting to see David and the Pieta, but I couldn't. But I was like, I'm going to keep going. But that's because you had it.
Exactly. Got your back.
Yeah, I love also that his name is Michelangelo, because that's the Archangel Michael, who is like the first expression of God essence. It's the first creation of source energy. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so this is how these two operate together. The sacral chakra is like creativity, feels. Third eye says, let's take that and let's make that a story. Let's take all of those feels and let's organize it so that we can focus upon it and have a specific and a unique expression of it. Let's basically get in there and get into the beauty of the bittersweetness of maybe having an empty nest, telling the story of having a child, and then eventually that child turns 18 or 20 and leaves home. Focusing in on that bittersweetness. That's beautiful, right? That's a specific feeling. That's a specific thought. That is a story. And we can really experience the depths of it by focusing in on it. And so that's what third eye helps us to do. Now, obviously, many of you know that the third eye is also the center that we focus upon in order to experience clairvoyance. Clairvoyance being the clear seeing or the spiritual psychic seeing. And that is true. The third eye also operates for other kinds of psychic or intuitive sensing. So the third eye works with our ears as well. We have actually ear chakras, one for each ear, but it's actually a minor chakra. These are minor chakras, and they work sort of in tandem in between the throat chakra and the third eye chakra. So for like clairaudience, that means the clear hearing from the spirit realm or hearing from the non-physical or the final energetic frequencies. You would be using your ear chakras and both I should say, the third eye and the throat chakra. Those all kind of work together to give us the translation of more fine frequencies into that of words and speech and the kind of what we think of as the hearing expression. It also helps. We also have, when we have the clairsentient feeling, that will come in through the third eye as well. And clairsentience, which is the clear feeling, will also be echoing in the heart. It'll be echoing in the solar plexus, and it does echo in the sacral. So it's kind of maybe a fuller bodied experience. Not that means that it's greater or lesser. It just is. That's just how it is. And then with that third eye, people always, people who are kind of getting into spirituality, they're saying like, I want to open my third eye, because sometimes when people are a bit anxious or urgent to open their third eye, it's maybe because they've just started to recognize this facility that you can see or experience into the spirit realm. And that's great. And maybe they see other people doing readings or having the experiences that they have, and they think that's amazing. And if only I could do that, then maybe I wouldn't worry so much about paying my rent, just for example. So sometimes when we have an urgency or an anxiety about opening the third eye, sometimes that is because we have a feeling that it's actually going to maybe rescue us a little bit. And the truth is, as we're discussing here, is that it doesn't rescue. It has to partner fully with the foundational energy, the foundational chakras. It has to partner fully with the lower chakras. In the same way, actually, just as a little bit of a tease, the crown chakra, which is the biggest one in our personal energy field, sits right on the top of the head. It's all about wisdom. It's all about knowing. It actually partners with the root chakra, which is all about stability. And so those two partner together to be able to have a fuller, more cohesive expression of who you are. So what is good to know about how this works is, if you are a person who is highly empathic, highly sensitive, if you're a person who sort of emphasizes feeling very, very anxious, or maybe even very depressed, these are both, anxiety and depression are shadow expressions of the sacral chakra. Anxiety or depression is telling of that sacral chakra either overproducing or underproducing. So when we feel depressed, it's more of an underproduction. If we feel anxious, it's an overproduction. And what this means, it's not that we need to stop feeling or stop feeling that creative energy flowing. It just means that we need more alignment. We need more flow. And so if we have, for example, that sacral chakra overproducing, if you've ever had the experience where you have so many creative ideas that you have nowhere to begin, you don't even know where to begin, even if it's like too hard to even jot down your different creative ideas, and you're just like immediately overwhelmed and exhausted by all of the creative ideas that you have. That, I'm sure a lot of you are like, that's so me. That is an overproduction or the sacral chakra kind of being emphasized a bit too much. The energy being really arrested in that area and sort of looping into itself. You see, a loop is when we are trying to get somewhere, but then we go back to the beginning. We're trying to get somewhere, we go back to the beginning, right? That's what a loop is. So instead of the looping, what's meant to happen is we're trying to get somewhere, and then that energy is taken up to that visionary center, the intuitive center, the higher sensing center, the third eye. And then that's how we actually get the relief. So you may be thinking, well, how do I do it? How do I do this? Well, like I said, you can actually do some breathing techniques about it. But really, it has to do with being quiet, being still. If you can get quiet and still and get in your meditative state, the sacral chakra, as it is starting to loop and reflect its shadow side, that is actually going into the ego energy or the lower mind energy. It is stimulating the lower mind, and it is overemphasizing the physical nature and stopping at the physical nature and not getting any higher than that. And it will maybe start to swell up into the solar plexus, which is all about physical identity and 3D kind of orientation. And it'll kind of well up to that and say, like, I suck, That's something that can happen. But when we start to get into the shadow and into the looping expressions of those lower chakras, they start to feel a bit arrested. And then, quite frankly, we feel dense, don't we? Don't you feel heavy? Don't you feel unmotivated? Don't you feel incapable of moving forward? Well, if we are able to lighten that energy, meaning literally allow it to flow up to the higher, more subtle, vibrating frequencies, then we actually get the movement, we get the expression, we get the feeling of higher vibration and light rather than the dense vibration of solid, of stone, without being able to move. And take a sip here. So now, just to mention that one of the shadow aspects, or in Anodea Judith's book, Western Mind, Eastern Body, that I'm reference this her book a lot in this lesson. By the way, it's a really great book on the chakra system, and it really takes it from a more of a Jungian approach, which I appreciate. Carl Jung, the psychologist, she calls them the demons, not like the pitchfork kind of guys, but like basically the negative aspects. The demon or the shadow aspect of the third eye is illusion. So having said that, when we intend to work with the third eye, we do want it to be founded, right? We want to have a strong foundation. And when we are having an unbalanced intention or an anxious intention to open the third eye, then we will get into something that is more of an illusion. Thinking that perhaps if I open my third eye and it will rescue me from caring about what's going on in this physical world, that's an illusion. It's a delusion. It's something that is not in alignment with what we truly are, with the expression of our soul. Like I said, the soul's purpose is to be spirit expressed in physical human form. So when we are working with the third eye, and how we can begin to work with the third eye in order to balance, or not just begin, but like enhance your work in your third eye expression, is to spend time in our devotional time, what I call the workshop, what I call meetings with spirit. In your workshop, your meditation time, there is the time where we actually are able to quiet the mind, allow it to stand down. And essentially, this is like a reset of the entire energy body for a moment. It's like the third eye blinks. It's like the sacral quiets for a moment. And it all takes just a breath. It all gets quiet for a moment. And then the intention is, as it turns back on, it is aligned and balanced in its connection with the field, its connection with the universe. So if you are new to meditation and you feel like I can't meditate, I've tried to meditate, I'm not good at it, just know that is normal and is natural. And just keep working at it. Look at the many different ways. You can use guide tracks. I mean, I talk about this all the time. There are many different ways. Just know that perhaps the way that you've been going about it, maybe that way or your understanding of it isn't the way for you. And that is valid. But also know that it is just like going to the gym for the first time and saying, well, I can't pick up that 35-pound barbell or dumbbell and do a bicep curl with that. Probably a lot of guys can, but women who haven't been working out, that's a little heavy for us. I can't do that. Well, no, it's your first day there. Of course you can't. You need to retrain the body. You need to retrain the musculature. And so, but it can be really easy to get into that space. I'm not going to make this all about meditation. However, I want to say that in your workshop time, there is meditation, there is journeying. So meditation, after you are able to do that blink of the electromagnetic field and to allow the physically oriented mind to stand down, then you start to move into the balance and the flow and the co-creation with the universe. And then you start to experience the spirit realm. If you want to connect with spirit guides or angels or something along those lines, avatars and masters, you can. You want to connect with nature spirits, fairies, and all of that kind, or the higher ultra elementals like dragons and unicorns. You hear me talk about all that stuff on this show. Then that's where you will do that. And then that is how you actually bring it into your walking around life. Because as you enhance that sensory, as you enhance that connection to the finer expressions of energy, to the finer dimensions, then it will just be a part of your regular walking around life. And that's how you integrate, that's how you open up the fullness of your dimensionality. And then as you're walking along, you feel the magic of the entire universe. Magical things happen for you. I walked into the studio today and I said to Kurt, you remember Jarvis, everyone? If you listened to my show for a while, Jarvis used to produce this show. And I just said to Kurt, I said, I wonder how Jarvis is doing. Kurt's like, that's so weird that you say that. Just this last week, this story happened with Jarvis, right?
Yeah, exactly. He contacted one of our hosts. So
Yeah.
it was like, it was just...
We haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah, he hasn't even come up in general conversation in a while. So
Yeah.
for that to happen it was amazing.
Synchronistic. It happens a lot with us, right, Kurt? Doesn't
Exactly. Yeah, it really does.
yeah. So that's one of the symptoms of it. It's a really, really cool symptom. It's just one way to talk about it. But this is what I'm talking about, being in absolute flow. Recently, I was actually connecting with, I mentioned a few times, I think on this show, maybe on Light and Day Off, I can't remember. I was connecting with a tree. So this is another thing that can happen. You can talk to trees. I mean that. And it's okay if skeptics call me crazy. I'm not delusional. I'm not crazy. If it helps, it helps. And it really, really does help. And I believe it is both. It is me experiencing who I am, and it really is the fifth dimensional expression of the tree. And so the tree was giving me a lesson and giving me a healing as well. But the tree basically told me that the way that I am, the questions that I'm asking about how to enhance this thing or that thing in my life and my work, was the tree said to basically focus on what feels good. And I was like, oh gosh, that's so basic and so weird that I have to be reminded that. Talking to me about that sacral energy, like is it flowing well? If it feels good, then that is you managing the energy, the ebb and the flow, the give and the take of your energy appropriately. Now, I will say that being able to work in ways that things feel good, there is an aspect where when we're growing, there's a kind of not feel so good thing, but that's different. Again, like likening it to beginning a new movement practice, you get sore and it's difficult, but that's because you're running new energy. That is telling of you where you have been as not being the right place. Where you're moving toward is the right place, but there is some discomfort or there are some growing pains in that. As opposed to doing things like putting your hand on a stove, there are pain signals to say stop going forward with what you're doing. And so there is a kind of, and again, this sacral chakra is duality and polarity. So there is a way of finding the balance of what feels good, something being what feels good and is good for me. Moving forward sometimes has growing pains or growing challenges, but it's good for you to do that. So sometimes when you're starting something new, there might be fear, there might be apprehension, anxiety, but that isn't because it's telling you to stop doing it when this is a new creative and expression of who you are. it's not because it's telling you to stop doing it. It's because it's telling you to stop being complacent. It's telling you to stop doing it. Stop not doing it. I'll give you an example here. So in the Intuitive Intensive that I mentioned at the top of this show, Crystal and Compton and I, we coach people to give readings. And we do it live. We do it in like a video call. We do it in a Zoom meeting. And we do it also in the Facebook group where people actually go up and they broadcast themselves. And some people, for the very first time, are putting themselves out there in front of everyone, live, to offer an intuitive reading. Never done it before. Not in that, maybe not at all, let alone in that format. So yeah, I mean, I'm just creating this scenario for myself, even though I do it all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. Well, that's scary, that apprehension is because you're running new energy. You're running a fresh kind of energy. And so it takes some time to move past that. Then let's say you get into a new practice of maybe a business as a spiritual, like an intuitive reader, or as a channel. Let's say you're a channel, like Daryl Anka was on the show several weeks ago. He channels an entity called Bashar. He explained that the first however many years when he was channeling Bashar, and he was channeling as much as he was, that he would get tired from it. And it would make him, it would like, seemingly we would say like it made him exhausted, or it took a lot of energy. But then after a while, it energized him. Now, see, that's the thing is that it is energizing to do new things, to do creative things, to allow your energy to properly flow through you into this experience. But at first, when Daryl was starting to channel, like those first, for him, he described it as years, and it would exhaust him. It was because it was moving out energy that needed to be released. He was running fresh energy, and it's kind of like when a pipe, a water pipe has calcification in it, and that calcium is built up. And if you put water through it, it's going to intensify it, and it will start to, it'll have kind of a resistance and attention to the stream of water. But the more you run that water, the calcium is going to flush out, and then it will flow really easily and really fluidly, really beautifully. So that is the distinction there. That is the duality of what feels good. And you know what that is. And how do you know that you know what that is? What's the best way to be in tune with that? Well, to be in your devotional time, to be in your daily meetings with Spirit, your daily meditation. Because in that meditation time, you are making contact. You're making contact with the truth of your inner being. You're making contact with the truth of the universe. And so that is your home. That is what you compare all things to. That is where your balance lay, in that understanding, in that home base. It's neutral, it's bliss, it's joy. It doesn't have any specifics to it, yet because it encompasses the entire universe. It encompasses all that love is. And so that's essentially what the sacral and the third eye are doing. They are translating, they are expressing all of what love is. So what is all of love, right? I mean, that's the entire universe. The universe is composed of love, of unconditional love. Unconditional means there is nothing specific about it because it is everything. So then the sacral chakra starts to put some details to it. And the sacral chakra says love, hate, fear, greed, bliss, excitement, joy, all of the different things, and not to mention all the negative ones, but we are rubbing up against others having the negative ones, even if we have the intention to produce the positive ones. All of those are coming out, and it sees all of those. And then third eye says, well, let me make that even more defined. And let me say, there is this beautiful love story of two people meeting one another, doing really great things in the world, and then being able to become a new expression of love in their specific story, right? So that is what we are. That is what the energy centers are. That is what you are. And the multi-nuanced dimensional experience of who you are is endless. So when someone says, what is my purpose? Well, if you just look into any of these, just for example, as an organizing guide, into any of these energy centers, your heart chakra, it is a universe unto itself of all of the things, all of the intentions, all of the experiences, all of the resonances with other beings, with other ideas, other aspects of yourself. Like I say, each of these are just one facet looking into the beauty of one diamond. And that that diamond has endless facets to it, and so do you. Each of all of the ways that you are expressing yourself, they have endless expressions. And so this is what we do. This is what you are here to do. This is how you understand your purpose. This is how you experience your purpose. And I would say, if you're listening to this and this is exciting to you, even if you have a regular daily practice of your workshop, of your meetings with spirit, of your devotional time, I'd say if this is exciting you, just know that there is no plateau either. There's more to go. There's more to do. And that doesn't have anything to do with time. It doesn't have anything to do with the limitations of the 3D, the time and the space, the when and the how. It has to do with you just being in and just relishing in the essence of who you are, the expression of creator energy. All right, so we're just about out of time, and I'm just looking at my notes to see if there is anything else that I want to mention. And I think there was one thing that I want to mention. This is a quote from Anodea Judith's book. If we think of the body as a vessel for the soul and spirit, then the element of earth in chakra 1, meaning the root chakra, provides support and containment for the fluid essence of chakra 2. The fluid essence, water, is the element associated with the sacral chakra. Much like a cup holds water, without appropriate containment, water flows out and the cup runs dry. With excessive containment, however, water cannot flow and at times becomes stagnant and dull. Ideally, we want to have a cup that is capable of filling, holding, and emptying. The task of the first two chakras was to build the container. The task of the first chakra was to build the container. In the second chakra, we look for its contents. And then as we have that cup full and it runs over, but it never runs out, then we can allow it to be the substance, the essence of that which the story that we tell in this experience. You know that you are a story told by God. You are one of the expressions of source energy. Source energy in and of itself is everything. And so you are the something, one of the somethings. As Archangel Metatron said in an activation I recently led, it was a channeled activation. I got the message that you are the one condition that completes unconditional love. I think I mentioned it last week, but I just wanted to state that again. You are the story of the universe. You are one of the lines of the one song, the universe. You are one of the melodies, and without you, this melody wouldn't have resonance. And that was cool. And with that, yes, Kurt, are you about to say? Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
No, that was just powerful.
Oh,
so,
thanks.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
That was really good.
I thought you were about to say something to me.
No, it was powerful.
Oh, cool. Thank you. All right. Well, again, I want to remind you about the 2019 Intuitive Intensive. We start in just about 2.5 weeks. And I want to remind you to have a look at my Mystic Arts Academy class lineup. Super excited, teaching regularly. And also that I have opened up more spots in my schedule for readings. I've added more time to do that, and it's really awesome. I'm usually booked up a week or two in advance. It's actually not that bad. But in my full readings, the intuitive readings, you can actually do some animal communication if you like, a small portion of it. It is a full coaching, education, channeling, energy healing. It is also channeled messages, ability assessment, anything that needs to be done, we do with spirits. So go check it out. It's under Work With Me and Humans for my intuitive sessions. If you go to my website, triciacarcharm.com. And that's all I really and truly have to say today, except that I appreciate you so much. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.